It's 2017 and that means it's time for another round of cheap so-called 4K action cameras to be released. Allwinner Technology has got us covered with their new low-end processor, the V3s. For fake 4K action cameras, there are three main makers of processors. These are like Intel or AMD for cameras, except that they're not really like Intel or AMD because those two brands are actually good, and some of these are, well, questionable at best. Each processor has a maximum video quality it can produce, and none of these has enough power to produce real 4K footage. They all do it at a lower resolution, or there are some software tricks that doesn't produce very good results. From best to worst though, in my experience, is Novatek, then Sunplus and Allwinner, which are kind of tied for a sad last place. The video that you're seeing is from an Allwinner camera based on their new processor. This is a lower end version of the common V3 processor, and since it is cheap to make cameras with low-end processors, I'm expecting to see a lot of cams based on this to be released soon. There are already a few brands that use this configuration, including MG Cool and the generic F60C. The older Allwinner V3 was not a great processor by any means, but in most cases the cameras that were based on it were crippled by software, meaning that with some hacking, the V3 cameras were actually capable of producing decent results, up to 1080p 60 or 2.5K 30. At least with the V3 you'd be guaranteed the same consistent level of image quality across multiple vendors, even if that image quality wasn't particularly good. Now that the V3s has been released, some cameras are being advertised as containing an Allwinner SoC, but now they do not have the V3. Instead, they have the S variety, and surprise surprise, it's almost like the S stands for shit. The V3s supports image sensors up to 5 megapixels, despite these cameras being advertised as 16 megapixels, and they have a maximum video resolution of 1080p at 40 frames per second, despite these cameras being advertised as 4K. Both F60C cameras that I've seen in the wild film at a paltry bitrate of 9 megabit per second, meaning that there is lots of blocking and artifacts on any images with motion, since this is an action camera that kind of defeats the purpose. This is a case of newer is not better, as it is a step backwards in image quality. It's almost like comparing the slowest Atom processor to a decent Pentium. The cameras look similar, their user interface looks similar, but the results speak for themselves, and the V3 wasn't even that great to start with. My recommendation if you're looking at an Allwinner camera is to stay vigilant and read the specs very carefully so that you don't get ripped off. The V3 is bundled with one of two image sensors, an OmniVision OV4689, which from my experience has the best image quality out of the box, despite it only being 4 megapixels, or it's bundled with a Sony IMX179, which is 8 megapixels but generally has more mediocre image quality. The V3s, on the other hand, is bundled with one of two sensors, a GC2023, which is only 2 megapixels and not even in the right ratio for 1080p, let alone 4K. Or it is bundled with the OV2720, which is also 2 megapixels but can do an actual 1080p resolution. At the price point of these cameras, it is worth spending the extra $10 to $20 to get something with far more capable specs instead of cheaping out. Thank you for watching. I hope that this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please leave them below.